Hello and welcome to this edition of The Show. I'm your host, Brian Mallard, and we do this every Sunday. This week's special guest, and a very special guest this week, is Mr. Sam Beman. Sam?
Hello, Sam. How are you?
Sam is hopefully doing quite well.
You're going to hear me back here laughing a lot.
Good. Good.
Sam is Sam has quite a repertoire here, and we're gonna talk to him person to person here soon. I wanted to go into a little bit. He's an actor, a comedian, a DJ. That's a lot of information. Tim, roll the video.
We gotta get better, 'cause we can't get what's
I wish I would win the $1,000 instead of having to come here.
Please don't waste your breath or my time.
But the million operation is beginning to take off, and I can use a man like you. These are the final divorce papers. You need to sign them and get them to your lawyer.
Hey, Mr. Healy, isn't it time once again for the lovely toilet system?
You don't run the money, don't you know your own kid? Why's you hanging about you?
He told me coming home that he didn't mind people staring at him in church.
Crazy Days fireworks. This is crazy. Whose kid is this?
What would you like, sir?
Whiskey. I gather around, everyone. Come on in.
There'll be music, fun, and free food from Chick-fil-A for the first 4,000 people. A good time for the whole family.
Voodoo, like the kind Mama Odie does.
Mama who?
Mama Odie, she is the voodoo queen of the bayou. She has magic and spells.
Could you take a guess to her?
I've got a story that I like to share about how I got cancer and lost all of my hair. But it wasn't so bad because I had Jesus who saves. Not to mention, I didn't have to shave. Yeah.
I was up there singing my own song, and in the middle I was just like, this man is the will. Y'all sing with me. They never heard it. I'm asking them to sing with me on the song that I wrote.
Guys, I'm sorry. I just love this stuff. I couldn't wait.
And there you have a little montage, of snippets of things that Sam does. That's enough video of Sam. Now let's go to Sam.
Yeah, that's enough of that.
So Sam, tell me, Tam.
Who is Tam?
Oh, I'm on
Who
it.
is
I'd have to kill you. So Tam, now tell me a little bit about yourself. Where were you born?
Where was I born? That's a good question. You know, I don't even know. I don't even know which hospital room that was.
You don't remember?
I don't remember. No, they never told me that.
Your memory's getting about like mine.
But yes, I do remember that I was told that it was in Columbus. That's Columbus, Georgia.
That's close enough.
Yeah, that's close enough.
So what'd your parents do?
Well, they they loved me, Brian. They really loved me. No, my dad, he owns an exterminating company.
Cool.
And my mom, she actually used to model, and she did a lot of TV commercials back in the day. And so when I was a teenager, she was modeling at the Springer Opera House, and I thought, that's an interesting stage. And the owner of the fashion collage, this big collage, the fashion college, asked me at the time, Mabel Bailey, she said, have you ever thought about doing modeling? I said, no. It has never crossed my 15-year-old mind to model. And she said, well, she said, you got to you got a good face for it. You should try this one day. It's really popular with the ladies. I was like, really? Maybe, I don't know, but I end up never doing modeling. But because I saw my mom, perform on stage at the Springer, it led to, I guess, me, making my way to the Springer stage,
to the TAM. You see,
to the TAM, yeah, to the TAM Beman show.
I need vocal. What's the word? Anyway,
A vocal
vocal coach. That's
vocal coach. Yes,
She's not here today.
there are cue cards.
Yeah, I need those bad. So, you've done quite a lot. You did Light Talk, and you've what made you decide to go into entertainment? I mean, was it like
there just wasn't enough money to be made at the job I was doing? No, believe it or not, I've been entertaining people ever since I was a kid. I think, I loved making people laugh. I loved doing voices. And when my dad found out I could do voices, he used to have me perform for people at the Waffle House. And
wow.
Yeah. So imagine you're a trucker at the Waffle House and you hear, I want to be where the people are. I want to see them dancing. And I'm a boy doing this Little Mermaid impression because my voice hadn't quite changed yet.
Right. It worked, folks.
Yeah. But I did, I also did the Arnold Schwarzenegger, as a 12-year-old. So it was funny. I was able to do Ariel and Arnold, from one A to the next. And then I did like a RoboCop impersonation. And so I would get up and I would act like,
creep.
Yeah, drop it, your move, creep. And I would make all of these sound effects and everything. And people love that. So I end up doing a lot of that throughout my high school year, with just with people that I wanted to make laugh.
Right.
I would do these voices. And then after I got out of high school, I actually was in a relationship at that time for a long time. And then that ended, and I really didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do, because sometimes we get so wrapped up, especially like when you're a teenager, you get so wrapped up with like this other person that you don't even know who you are anymore.
Yeah.
And I didn't know who I was. I was just like, I'm the boyfriend. That's all I know. I'm the boyfriend. And then I went to go see a Springer show, and I thought, man, I want to try this. And my dentist, Daniel Windsor, was actually in the show. And I thought, if my dentist can do this, I want to try it. And it was amazing. He did a great job. Shout out to Daniel Windsor out there. But anyways, he and Steve Valentini and some other people had really inspired me. And then there were some actors at the time that I tried to speak to after the show that really kind of gave me the cold shoulder. And I thought, well, that's not right. Like they acted like they were really, too good for me. Right. And so I thought, you know what? I really want to audition even more now because I want to know what makes people, act kind of snooty.
Right.
And so I auditioned and I could not believe it. I made it. And I realized once I got in that it had nothing to do with being on stage, making you a little bit more arrogant. It has everything to do with the person. And I end up working with some wonderful people and have over the years, just amazing actors at the Springer Opera House. They're really great people. It just happened to be like when I first started, there was a hint of that. And I never really experienced it again.
The negative part? Yeah,
the negative, being kind of snooty.
Right.
You see it, but I'm really like the percentage is very low.
Right.
Because the people that have come through the Springer Opera House, you guys know who you are. You're my family. They are just really wonderful people, and they're from all over the country. That's what I love about the Springers. They provide local talent along with national talent as well.
Right. That's really cool. And of course you saw in the clip some of your stuff, but I stay very busy, so it's hard for me to get to some events. But I had a chance to check you out in Les Miserables at the Springer.
Well, thank you.
And that was really cool. That was a great
that, Brian. Checking me out.
Sorry.
But no, it was a great job,
You
and
saw that.
I did see that. I was in
Wow.
the box.
I don't know if I remember that. It could be the chemo, but that's awesome that you came to see the show.
You did. You did awesome, and there's like you were this rich guy, and I think you slapped somebody at one point. Yeah.
Did that not surprise you when I beat this woman down to the ground?
It was not so surprising because
Good.
because I was like, well, this is what this character does.
Yes. Okay. Good.
However, it's like, from a personal standpoint, I was like, that's Sam Beman.
He would never do that.
Right.
It shocked everybody in the first rehearsal, like the run through of that
Mhm.
when we did it in front of everybody in the rehearsal hall, and I was like, I come over to her and I just backhand her to the ground. Everybody's like, oh, and I'm looming over. I'm like, just I'm really giving it to her, and then after we're through, people were just sitting back going, I had no idea that you were like that. I was like, no, it's the part.
It's a part. Sometimes a part calls for things that you would not normally do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, let's jump from your going from the going to the Springer and getting roles to starting Light Talk.
Light Talk. That was one of those things that it's so wild. It was like early 2000, I believe, and Chris Blackshear, I think it's Chris Blackshear over in Phoenix City, Alabama. He and another couple of guys were over at Cable TV East Alabama, and Chris had this show. It was like East Alabama Living, I think was the name of it. He was looking at transitioning out at the time. They needed a new host for the show. So they brought me in to audition for that show.
Wow.
And I was horrible. I kid you not. They thought I would be good because I was an actor. They thought, oh, great, have someone who can act. Maybe he can do a good job behind the camera. But I was literally like frozen. They were watching me from a booth, and we were in a dark room with just like a little light on us, and they were like, okay, go, and I'm like, oh, hold on one second. I'm like, what do we do? What do we do? He said, I'm just going to ask you some questions, and you answer them naturally. I'm like, okay, all right, sorry. And then he said, okay, go. And then he asked me a question. I'm going, yes, my name is Sam. He goes, you can look at me. I was like, oh, my name is Sam. So it was so bad, and like that was horrible. But then when I had to do the reverse, because this was like an interview,
Right,
really.
right.
It was an interview for this position. And then he said, okay, now what we want to do is have you ask questions. I was like, what do I ask? And he said, well, you could ask me things like, where do I work and all that. And I'm going, okay, where do you work? He goes, well, ask me on camera. I was like, you want me to wait until the camera rolling? Like it was so awkward and so bizarre. So we get past that, and I failed miserably, by the way. And then they called me and they said, would you be interested to come in again? I said, you know what? No, thank you. And they said, why not? I said, because I'm not cut out for this stuff. I'm not cut out to be on camera. So they said, well, we can work with you on that. I said, no, you don't understand. I don't even need to be on your show. It's really not something I'm passionate about, so I don't think I need to do it. Thank you anyways. And shortly after that, I started writing out an outline for this Christian comedic talk show with skits, kind of like SNL, and interviews, almost like a Tonight Show type thing. And Johnny Carson was really my model for that, the Johnny Carson Tonight Show, because Johnny would interview guests and then he would act in skits, and he would include his guest in some of those skits. So I thought, this is the avenue I want to go. And I called them, pitched it to them. They said no. So then thank you, but no thank you. Then several years later, I ended up doing a house-to-house invitation to a fall festival at a church. I got paired up with a guy who worked at Cable TV East Alabama, told him about my idea. He loved it. He said, let's do lunch. So a year later, we did lunch, and a
year later,
then he said we will talk about the possibility of getting this on. Months roll by. I get a phone call saying, we're doing a Christmas show. Could you go and interview some different productions around town, and let's put together a show? I was like, okay. It was not supposed to be Light Talk. All it was me interviewing cast members from different productions, but it was only one production, and that was Christmas Carol at the Springer Opera House. And
Wow.
I interviewed people on stage, set up this whole, random scenario where I run into cast members and, pretend like I'm bumping into them. And,
Right.
and then they said, well, we have to fill the rest of the show. Can we have you back over the studio? Let's just put a desk together or something. I was like, okay. So it was all makeshift.
Wow.
And then they said, well, we need to call this show something. I said, let's call it Light Talk. I already had the logo done up like 6 or 7 years prior.
Right.
And I said, I'll send you something if you want. And they were like, we'll just have one of our guys put it, put Light Talk on there and some music. I was like, okay. So for about, I don't know, it seemed like about 8 or 9 episodes, there was like just a font that would go in and out. And then finally I was like, guys, I have a logo. Let me get it to you. So that's how it was birthed. Long version, sorry. But,
No, that's good. That's
that's
good.
the history of how that show became what it was at the studio.
Very cool. We'll be back in just a minute. Tim's going to bring up a commercial, and we'll be back to talk about some more fascinating stuff about Tam.
Timeless beauty at the Gypsy Cherub, 3760 Woodruff Road, Columbus, Georgia. Class is back in style.
And here we are back with Mr. Sam Beman here on the show,
AKA Tam Beman.
AKA Tam.
He got it right, ladies and gentlemen.
Due to my stuttering, there's people with all kinds of names out there. So, Sim, can you bring up the pictures? Let's have Tam talk about these pictures.
Yes, Sim, bring that up.
This is really important. Tell us about this one, Sam.
All right, this here is Tim looking at the computer.
There
and,
you go.
That's
my job, ladies and gentlemen.
This particular image right here is me at John B. Amos Cancer Center. I think I was probably like in about my 2nd or 3rd month of chemo, maybe. As you can tell, I'm like a hairless cat here. I've got no hair, and I lost it everywhere from the chemo. But this particular lady, she heard me doing some voices or something while I was sitting there in the chair, and she came over and she said, I just had to let you know that you're really funny. I said, well, thank you. She said, I've just been entertained over here. And I said, well, I am an entertainer. And she goes, shut up. And so I told her that I did shows at the Springer Opera House. She goes, I've probably seen you. I said, you probably have. And I named some of the productions. She goes, I knew you looked familiar. I said, well, I probably had more hair at the time, but yes, I guess these eyes don't lie. So she said, can I have your autograph, please? And that's me signing an autograph for her. And I said, I really, I don't feel like I deserve this right now. She goes, oh, no. She said, it's my honor. And I said, well, thank you. You've actually touched me today. I said, I've been trying to be a blessing to others, but you've actually blessed me. So thank you.
That's wonderful.
Oh, yes. What do you think this picture says? What are you seeing, Brian?
Well, I see the Grinch.
That is right.
And I see some people that seem to be very happy to be posing with the Grinch.
They were ecstatic. This was actually my 2nd appearance at the Cancer Center as the Grinch, because I finished up my chemo. I think it was like late September, maybe late September, early October. And around Christmas time, I decided on December 23rd to dress up as a Grinch and go up to the Cancer Center and deliver candy canes to everybody on all 3 floors and try to bring them some cheer, because I knew what it was like being in that chair for several hours getting my chemo. And I thought, man, if someone were to show up and just bring something, like usually Cascade Hills was really good about bringing their little bags and everything, but I went at Christmas time, and then I went back again on St. Patrick's Day. So that's me in a different different hat there. It's a green hat, floppy hat that I found at a thrift store. And so anyway, so that's me on St. Patrick's Day. And these two RNs are just amazing. Diane on the left, I think Cheryl on the right, from what I can see. And in fact, Cheryl, she loves when I do Mickey Mouse, and she had me do voicemail for her for her niece and nephew. And she told me the last time I saw her, like after I did the Mickey Mouse voicemail thing, she was like, they think I'm a hero.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I tell you what, I have to pay homage to Sam here. I had told him off air before we went on that I know that myself, I have a lot of medical problems too, and I know that what kind of a rough road it can be, and I just admire him for, just always staying upbeat, always wanting to serve others, and I mean it's something we don't get a lot. It's really something that's admirable.
Thank you.
It truly is. You were very upbeat from what I saw through that. I mean, always very positive, and it was great. It was,
This here is me holding on to a big eyeball, and it's one that I pulled out of a huge monster. No, this right here, it's actually called the eyeball. It's Chaotica Eyeball. It's for voiceover people, and for musicians as well. I've discovered this at a voiceover conference because I also do voiceover. And they had these on display a couple of years ago. I thought, man, I've got to get that because I didn't really have any. I didn't have a studio where I had acoustic foam panels or anything like that,
right.
And so I needed something to kind of block the sound, so there wasn't so much reverb,
right?
And that because that's what I was getting was a lot of reverb from just the room itself, and so I got this, and I've been using it ever since, for the past couple of years, and it's really handy. I actually like using it, especially if I go somewhere, like if I have to sleep overnight somewhere and I get a voiceover audition, hey, I can record, right there. I've got my USB audio interface and mic and my eyeball, and it's a lot better than if that thing was not on. I'll tell you that.
So is that like a contraption that goes around the microphone to block out?
Yeah, it's basically just it's like a styrofoam ball.
I gotcha.
And or like a foam ball. I'm sorry, not styrofoam, but it's
right.
Can it crumble? But yeah, it's a foam ball. So like that's a pop filter on the front of it.
Gotcha.
That blue piece. So you just pull that out and you can see inside. You see the microphone. The microphone just goes up through the bottom. So you have your shock mount and everything there, and the shock mount will meet to the bottom of the eyeball. Then you put your pop filter on, and it's cool because you know that you're always controlling your volume. You're not going to get close to that mic at all.
Right.
Not at all.
He doesn't have his $5,000 whisper room that we know he's independently wealthy and he can afford that.
Oh, goodness. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, moving right along. We have what does this picture tell you, Brian?
Well, it looks like there's my eyesight isn't as good as it used to be.
Okay.
But it looks like there's a crowd, and it looks like there's somebody on stage, perhaps.
That is me. Yes.
Excellent.
Well, that's myself and two other people. This here was a benefit for Alan Sherling. He's a gentleman here in town in the Columbus area who was trying to help raise money for a kidney transplant. And this was on April 2nd this past year. And this really meant a lot to me to be a part of this particular event because a year ago, April 2nd was when I got put in the hospital. And that night, my kidneys were actually shutting down.
Wow.
I was dying in the hospital. And so when I heard about this particular event through my friend Claiborne Cox, Ed Wiley, and Tim Bannister, all very funny comedians, they told me about this show, asked me if I would be a part of it. Yes. So I'm actually doing an improv game right here with the pastor of this church and this 14-year-old kid.
Wow.
And I kid you not, I did this improv game, and I opened Pandora's box with this particular game because that kid and the pastor had gotten the suggestion where they were two farmers working in a barn cleaning out toilets. That was their suggestion. Okay.
Right.
And it was a silent scene, silent. But they kept looking at each other like, plunging, and they looked back at each other and like, and then finally the kid just broke and he went, and everybody lost it. Well, the kid knew he had something then. I kid you not, for the rest of the show, for every comedian after me, they would be telling a joke, and all of a sudden, randomly, you'd hear, and everybody would laugh, and they're like, yeah, that was great. That was a good call back there. All right. It was very funny the first couple of times. But, when it got up around 4 or 5, it was, like, wow, that's, okay. It's
played out.
Yeah, it's played out, but it was funny because Claiborne, very funny guy. I don't know if you've ever seen him, but Claiborne, like, he just went off and started, saying like, okay, I don't even know what's going on here. We're having a comedy show and you're over here like vomiting every single time. He's like, if I had my school teacher hat on right now and all this, and it was funny. Like, he kept it,
right.
Everything was clean, people. and it wasn't mean spirited at all. So afterwards, we found out that this particular young man had lost his father, like, within the past year.
Wow.
To suicide. And he was actually, I want to say that he was beaten right before that. And then his father had done that. Man. And they have had the hardest road. So we say, you know what? God knew what this young man needed tonight.
Yeah.
He and his mom both needed this laugh. Mm-hmm. They needed this moment to be able to emote the way they did. And we, being all, giving guys, we let him. Mm-hmm. We let him have fun with it. And it was a good thing that we did, because who knows what kind of impact that made in that young man's life.
Exactly.
So anyways, that was what that picture was about.
Excellent story.
Oh, yeah.
I see club lights.
Yeah. I get that a lot. Are you a DJ? Yes, I'm a DJ. It's like the equivalent of Adam Sandler in Hotel Transylvania being accused of going blah, 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 as a vampire. That is not what we sound like. Here's no blah, blah, blah. So every DJ is but this right here is me DJing at a wedding just a couple of months ago, I believe. And this particular event was really interesting because that particular day, the groom ended up being late.
Oh.
It was only like 45 minutes. So it was, it was just a little while. We don't know exactly what the holdup was, but when we came in, meaning my wife and I, we thought we did something wrong because everybody's looking at us like, dude, seriously? So we were getting a lot of looks, and we thought, oh boy, better set up quick. I thought, I'm an hour and a half early. How could I be late? What happened? But then they came up and said, no, actually, we're still waiting on the groom. I'm like, oh, like, oh, really? Okay. But everything played out, really cool. It was actually a Kenyan style wedding.
Interesting.
It was someone from Kenya marrying a woman here, in the States. And so there's a blending of cultures that were coming together. I had never done a Kenyan wedding before. And so the groom hands me a thumb drive with like 45 songs, I guess. It says, make sure you play all of the music. What? And it's like, okay. And then he came back to me a few minutes later. He goes, it is okay if you only play some of it, but play a good portion for me. I said, okay, I will. But anyways, DJing is very fun. And my job as a DJ, as an entertainer across the board, is, if I'm an actor, is to make you to believe the character that I'm playing.
Right.
If it's the comedian, it's to help bring joy, and uplift your spirits. If it's the DJ, I want to make that event as special as possible.
Right.
Because people, it doesn't matter if the groom is 45 minutes late.
Right.
My job is to make sure that everybody's happy that's there.
Right.
So,
right.
And like I said, again, we don't know exactly why, the groom was late, but everyone seemed to be happy,
Right.
and they had a good time. So that's all that matters. But anyways, my job as the DJ is to make sure that it's that everybody's having a good time, and it's a very special event.
It's a fun atmosphere.
Yeah, fun atmosphere.
What we got, Tim? Got any more pictures?
Well,
Oh, look at that.
This.
Yeah. That there is my latest DVD. Of course, we talked about Light Talk earlier and how that show began. And, we were in the studio at Cable TV East Alabama. I was told that we were going to take a break for the summer. And then the summer came, and the station manager wasn't there anymore. So the break was longer than we anticipated by like a year and a half. So
Wow.
then I walked out into my garage one day and I looked around and I went, man, wouldn't it be cool if I just did the show here? And I remember I was just praying. I was like, God, I don't even have a desk. I don't even have any lights. And I kid you not, within a week, a desk was given to me.
Wow.
At the company I was working for, there was a doctor that had moved out, and they were getting rid of all of these desks. And I was like, I'll have a truck over here soon. We're taking it to my house.
Right.
So I had the desk in there, and then another buddy of mine who helped me out with a Christian nightclub I put together one time called The Bridge. He said, he just called me randomly that week. He was like, hey, man, what's going on? And I told him what I wanted to do. He said, man, I've totally got some lights you can have.
Wow.
I'll be over to your house. Like, what time do you get off work? He came over and rigged a lighting system. You've been there. So
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I don't know if you paid attention, but there was like a bar that went across like underneath the rafters, and went across the top there, and he tied up some bungee cords and like C clamps and mounted some lights. And boy, I was ready to roll, and I was just given a camera from something where someone owed me money, and unfortunately they were not able to pay.
Right.
So I got a camera.
Wow. And that camera came right on time.
why can I have friends like
I
that?
know, right?
and then I ended up producing like 40 episodes from my garage. And so this particular DVD, right here, is the best of from 2008 to 2016.
Where can they get that DVD?
You can actually get that at sambeman.com. You can go to my website. There's an order form on there. And I want to say it's $20. That includes shipping and handling, because of course, shipping and handling is like $5 as
Right,
it is.
right. Yeah.
So, and if you want to donate anything, like really my job right now is actor, comedian, DJ. So like all I'm doing right now is entertaining. And so if you would like to donate more, like if you say, well, man, all I have is like $5, all I have is $10. All I have is $100. Whatever you want to give, really, you could just put in the order form, like I want this many DVDs, and this is how much I'd want to spend, and I'll just work with you on that. Now, obviously, if you want to take my whole lot and only give me $5, it does not work that way. So really be generous with. Think about if it was your product. I spent 60 hours of editing on this.
And let me tell you something: editing is no joke. No joke whatsoever.
I went through hours and hours and hours of
yeah.
looking through so many
You know what I
different
like?
episodes.
Sam is actually, I guess when I came to Columbus here, he's actually the godfather of video podcasts.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
funny.
he was the first one that I ever heard of. And then, that now everyone's got their podcast,
Right,
whether it be
right.
video or audio.
Yeah, this guy's the forerunner. This guy's like in his garage. I mean, this.
Well, I'm glad that you feel this way, Tim. It really touches my heart. I'd rather it touch my wallet, though. I'm kidding.
So before we go to a break, real quick, and we're going to a break, and he's going to do some of that here shortly. But tell us a little bit about your fight with cancer and the chemo and.
Yeah, well, it was a 3-year battle that I didn't even know was going on. Actually, the first doctor I saw said, this appears to be Hodgkin's disease lymphoma. I was like, oh, great. What kind of pill do I take for that? And he was like, no, this is chemo radiation. And I felt like all the blood was just rushing out of my body. For those of you watching who have cancer or who have just found out that you had cancer, the feeling. And so I really didn't know what to do, but he said, we need a needle biopsy. So he sent me to another doctor, got the results back. It was negative. So long story short with that, I never went back to Dr. 1 because he sent me to someone else, and then I went to another doctor and then another doctor and had 2 needle biopsies, and both of them came back negative over the course of 3 years. Wow. So my health got really bad. In fact, the last production I did at the Springer was Les Mis, and my back was killing me. I had no idea what was going on. My lower back was in so much pain. I was actually taking Advil like 3 times a day.
Wow.
Which I do not recommend, by the way. For those of you who are abusing, stop it. And I was taking this stuff like 3 times a day to the point where I broke out in a horrible rash all over my body. The dermatologist didn't know what was going on. He's like, oh, it's probably the detergent that you're using. I was like, no, it is not. I haven't changed it. So I broke out in a bad rash. My back is hurting. I'm going to the chiropractor like 2 to 3 times a week.
Wow.
I'm in tears during the adjustments, and they're like, I just never saw anybody just cry like that. I feel so bad for you. Like, you feel bad, And then fast forward to when I got married, March 7th, 2015. The very next month, April 2nd, I went to go get blood work. Later on, my wife and I, we went out to dinner, and then we're going to go see a movie. I get a phone call saying, Mr. Beman, you're in critical condition. You need to get to the hospital right away. I hang up the phone, tell my wife, and she goes, well, do you still want to go to the movie? And I was like, no, honey, this is serious. And so we go to the hospital.
Catherine, I didn't say that. Okay, that wasn't me.
And so my major organs were shutting down. And I didn't find that out until later. But the doctor did a bone marrow biopsy on me, and while I was in my Mickey Mouse pajamas, my face down, he's and a needle in my back. He said, "How are you doing, Mr. Beman?" I said, "Why don't you ask Mickey how he's doing?" And before I knew it, I was like, "Oh boy, that feels magical."
Wow.
Yeah. I said, why don't you keep drilling me a little deeper, Doc? Hey, Goofy, how does that feel? Gosh, that kind of hurts. Make it stop. So I thought, boy, I better stop making this guy laugh, because that's the last thing I need is to have like a severed nerve or something. Like, I'm stuck in the wrong place, and he's drawing the wrong kind of fluid. And so I stopped that. Afterwards, they said that was the most fun we've ever had with the bone marrow biopsy. And then from that moment on, I went through 6 months of chemotherapy. I had to have over 70 Neupogen shots, which those of you out there watching that have been there, you know what I'm talking about. It makes everything hurt, including your bones. Those shots 7 days in a row, they're really, really rough. It's like you get really exhausted when you're doing your chemo, and then after the chemo later on that night, you're wired. And then you're wired all night long till like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And then you have to be back at the cancer center at 8:30. And so you're like, oh, stick me again. And I got creative. I wanted to, my idea of this whole thing was I wanted to be a blessing, because I realized that other people were hurting. Other people were in a bad way. And so I thought, God, help me to be a blessing to someone else at the cancer center. And so I started doing voices with the RNs, and I'd do games with them. I'd have them guess which voice I was doing. And I started singing during my shots. I was like, all right, so what song would you like to hear? And so I was just in fear that they were going to say, give me Michael Jackson, because the last thing the infusion floor needs to hear is, oh! Anyways, so I went through 6 months of the chemo, and I had to learn how to walk all over again. And the last PET scan that I had, my follow-up semi-annual PET scan just a couple months ago, and it showed that I still have no more cancer. So I was trying to get through that as quickly as I could for you.
Man, that's quite an experience. We're gonna go to a commercial, but Sam Beman, wow.
Hey, before we go, Brian, I also want to say, when we're coming up on this last segment, if any of you have any questions you would like to ask Sam, go to our Facebook page. And once again, that is the Show-Columbus on Facebook, or you can, if you're watching this a little bit later on YouTube, as it's archived, got a place for questions. I'm sure Sam will check in every once in a while and give you an answer as soon as he sees it.
Sounds good. Ask away.
Hello, I'm Catherine Childry with Let's Vocalize. For over 35 years, I've coached vocalists and groups privately. I also perform vocal workshops training choirs. I'd love the opportunity to show you how direction, discipline, vocal health care, and regular practice can drastically improve you, your group, or your choir's performance. Call me at 706-536-6123 or visit us online at www.letsvocalize.com. I'd love to help you offer your best gift.
Hurry, 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 and come see the greatest collection of talent under one roof every Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at www.theshow-columbus.com. On July 17th, you want to batten down the hatches, lock the doors, and bring in the kiddies as it's the landing of Hurricane Sam. Mr. Sam Beman joins us in studio. 1 week later, it will be the appearance of talk show host extraordinaire Miss Dee Armstrong drops by. And rounding out the month of July, on July 31st, musician Mr. Colton McKay. Looking ahead toward the month of August, we have the gentleman from Moderately Informed, Alexandra Six Strings, Jesse Wilson, and Sabra Lucas. Join us for this and much more every Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m. at www.theshow-columbus.com.
Hello and welcome back to the show with special guest Sam Beman. Hey, I got his name right this time.
Yeah, you got it. You know, I'm really impressed with the studio. I really love what you guys have done with all the lights and everything, because that part of the studio, I mean, I know you guys can't see it here, but I mean, it reminds me of Justin Timberlake's 4 minutes video. I only got 4 minutes to say the word. Like, that's really what it reminds me of. So kudos to you guys with that budget.
Yeah, it's quite expensive, and
he's too kind. It's actually light.
You can have any structure you want in the digital world.
You know, I've got to give it up to you guys that put together those show intros, because I've had to do a couple of them for Light Talk, and I mean, it's work. You know, it's a lot of work, especially if you have to find find some sort of stock footage, you know, of something, and you're like, okay, do I have the rights to this? You know, can I use this? And then, you know, if you have to have someone provide the music for you, like if you can't find a music bed that you like, and like, oh, I want to have an original song, and you know, of course we have a music guy here that can do that. And I've got to give a shout out to Heath Williamson for doing the theme song of Light Talk, because he came up with, you know, the whole concept of this. Like, it was like a 20 minutes. Oh, that's the longest show intro. It's like coming out of the show intro. Well, that's our show. But the 20 seconds, he came up with this 20-second intro that's great. I mean, wrote the words and everything, produced the whole thing. So anyways, kudos to you guys that are, you know, doing those show intros out there.
Heath Williamson, he does some cool stuff too.
Oh man, yeah. Have you seen what he does with the bass? You ever seen him like flip that thing around? Like,
I don't think so, but I need to check that out.
Heath is he's a little bit bigger than I am, you know, and he can make that bass talk. I mean, slap it, throw it around, spin it, and it is amazing. So in fact, Heath Williamson is on the Light Talk DVD. You can actually see him in a couple of skits. There was a Hotel Transylvania where he plays a mummy.
Nice.
And we actually had him wrapped up with gauze. It was something like gauze, but it was like Party City, that crepe paper stuff. You know? And we put several rolls around him, and like, no lie, we only were able to shoot that twice. Demetrius Shepard, another shout out. Demetrius Shepard from Promised Land Productions shot the video. It was not me, and so we did a couple of takes.
Right. And
it's funny, like if you watch the video, you will see parts of like in one scene, there's like hardly anything on him, and then another one, he's like full dress. So and he's like, Sam, you gotta get me out of here. I'm dying, man. I'm dying. He had this mask. We had this mask for him. He couldn't see nothing. It was horrible. And it was like, it felt like it was like 100 degrees outside at night. I mean, we're all sweating. It's October. Like a warm front just came through. It was ridiculous. And we were on the back of this porch, and under these stage lights, it was it made for a really, really terrible experience for Heath. But he was like, "It's all for the video, man. It's all for the video."
Yeah.
So you video guys know about that.
The way we suffer for the art.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, let's hear you do. We're gonna have to get out of here soon.
Yeah,
but
okay.
Let's do some. Let's hear you do some.
What would you like to hear?
Let's see what Tim's got.
I would just like to thank. Oh, I'm sorry. I get a little tongue tied. Of course, Hillary knows all about that. I've been getting tongue tied with her for years. Oh, hello there, mate. I believe right now I could use possibly a drink, maybe something cold and refreshing from the Black Pearl. Then again, I believe. Then again, I could use something from the future. Hey, Doc, if you got anything nice and cold. I do believe that I got something nice and cold for you right over here. It's called some high quality H2O. Mama says it is good for you because it's not of the devil. Devil is a liar, he is. Known this for years I have. Sharing it with you now. I am. Now, exactly why would anyone like to talk about the devil when clearly the issue is more cowbell? Oh, I like cowbell. That's so fun. I like to ring the cowbell all day long. Oh, boy. If I had a cowbell, sorry, I got a little tongue-tied as well. Must have been the French fried potatoes with mustard on it.
It's brilliant. It's like, I mean, the way you can go just from one into the other, into the other, into the other, into the other, and they're all so completely different. I mean, that's quite talented.
Thank you. You know, I've had a lot of practice with it. I used to, well, anytime I want to do a new voice, I just practice it over and over and over. I remember I used to make up stories with characters, and so I would try to see how long I could go with a story, just doing random characters telling a story. So I would be like, "Oh boy, it's time to go down the street. Why don't you just come over here and talk to me for a little while? If you were to talk to me, you would probably need to know exactly a little bit about the Batman. I do believe that the Batman is evil, right?" You know, so I would just go from like one character to the next, so I could just keep some type of story going along, and that was part of my own personal challenge.
You can also see him doing Bane imitations, and obviously the Grinch.
Yeah, the Bane impersonation has like has over 1 million hits, I think, on YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how do you choose what you want to imitate?
Usually it has to be a voice that I feel like is in my range, first of all.
Right.
So if I listen to it and I go, "Oh, that's something that I can work with." Like for instance, during my chemo treatment, I watched a lot of TV, and I even watched some old 80s cartoons, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. I was watching some He-Man, and Skeletor comes on the screen. And of course, Skeletor is insulting like everybody that works under him. And I was like, and I thought, this is an interesting character. That's the other thing, is I have to think this is interesting.
Right.
If it doesn't interest me at all, I don't even bother with it. Why would I? You know? And so anyway, Skeletor, I'm listening to it and I'm like, and I just start, wanting my voice, trying to find out where it lives.
Right.
And then when I get it, then it's a matter of trying to get, the rhythm of his voice. I'm like, "Hi, He-Man, you boob, come here. It's now to Eternia," whatever.
Right.
So then I have fun with it. And I thought, man, what if Skeletor were the boss of your company? "Who is that fellow working there on the floor? He's fired. That boob," Anyway, so that's kind of how it happens with voices.
Interesting. So you've got you of course, I've known this, but you've got your acting, like the video at the beginning of the show. You've got a lot of. How do you keep up with all that?
That's a good question. That's a good question, man, Brian. It really is. I want to share it with you. Like right now, I'm kind of in this place where I'm doing like voiceover voiceover stuff is during the week. And so if I produce any videos for YouTube, again, I'm doing that during the week. But like with the acting, if it's on camera, again, during the week. So comedy and DJing are the two things that I have to juggle when it comes to the weekend, because a lot of shows typically are like on a Friday or a Saturday.
Right.
Some DJ events are in the middle of the afternoon, and I like those. I actually I have a special right now going on Monday through, I think it's like Monday through Thursday. You get $150 off your total package, so with a 3-hour minimum. So, if you book me for 3 hours, like if you got a birthday party or something like that, to the end of, I think, August, August 30th or 31st, whatever, the end of August, Monday through Thursday, you can get $150 off the total package of the DJ, with a 3-hour minimum. So really it's not too hard, but I do have to write those things down. I do have to put them in my calendar. I have to put them on the wall calendar. But as long as it's structured and organized, if someone says, I need you for this day, then, if I'm already blocked out, then I can't take that.
Right.
That's just the short of it. And if you want to see me live, I know that this is going to YouTube, so you're going to, you'll be watching it like a year from now going, oh, I can't get to that show. But I'll actually be performing some comedy with Claiborne Cox, Tim Bannister, Ed Wiley at Giovanna's Pizzeria on July 29th, coming up.
Very cool.
Just a little over, I think it's a couple of weeks, and from 8:30 to 10. So be sure to get there early, to get a good seat. And it's just going to be pizza and jokes. That's, and of course you can get a refreshment, but mainly they're just going to be selling pizzas that night at the restaurant. And it's a free show, but we encourage tips.
Always encourage. Yes.
Musicians know about this. Comedians as well. So we encourage tips.
And I like to, we talked about it earlier in the show, I like to get everything into one box. So where can everybody find you easily?
They can find me here right now, but
he will not be here for.
Yeah, I'm not going to be that long.
You can't come
Google Map us, people. Huh? No, but I'm kidding. Do not even go to Google Maps. Sorry. Your Darth Vader moment there. SamBeman.com. www.sambeman.com. It's like He-Man, except for it's B-Man.
And is that going to be I guess, a central place for all your stopping off places, i.e. YouTube, Facebook?
Yeah, YouTube. I have several videos on there. I think I have like a couple of links on there for like Facebook. It's on the contact page. There's like a Facebook link. There's a Twitter link. And I think YouTube as well. And then of course there's tons of YouTube clips on like each page, so if you click on actor, comedian, DJ, VO, for voiceover, if you click on any one of those pages, there are several videos and testimonials too, where people have seen me perform live, whether it be DJing or comedy. Obviously people that have seen me act live, like I didn't get testimonials from them because I was getting out of costume.
Yes. It's hard to do the two.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. Let me go back on the audience. I know I'm in character, but could you please give me a testimonial? What did you think of the show?
Well, I'll tell you what. Well, Sam, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
And it's been a great pleasure. And Tim, you got anything?
Actually, no. We got everything out of them. I just once again wanted to say thank you.
Hey, you're welcome.
Yeah. I'm struggling right now, guys. I really am.
Well, we hope that you have gotten a lot out of this episode, and we'll go see Sam.
Let's take care of Tim. Let's wrap this up so we can go take care of Tim. He's struggling.
Until next time, I'm Brian Mallard for the show. Tim over there, you can't see him, and this is Sam Beman.